What's going on, everybody? If you're seeing this page, that means the official Touring Your Reign Reloaded merch store is now available. To get access to the store, make sure you go ahead and click the store tab on my YouTube channel. From there, you will be able to see all the merch that is available. We have mugs, shirts, hoodies, joggers, and so much more to come. All original designs made by yours truly, Touring Your Reign Reloaded. Now go ahead and get your merch today, and you can feel nothing in style. You know, often there comes a time when a person realizes what they've done and they realize that they are in over their head and they have what they call their wake up call or their coming to Jesus moment. And Eric Adams might actually fit that mold and realize that he is indeed in over his head when it comes to the migrant situation or the illegal, or as I like to call it, the not so secret invasion. We're going to call it that, the not so secret invasion, when it comes to the south of the Borderian or anyone else that comes over that border. But then there are some people who seem to be stuck in their ways. It seems that they're doing, in their mind, to be doing a good thing. And that's how we've come to this conundrum between Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, or mayor of a city in New York, and then you have Brandon Johnson, who was the mayor for the city of Chicago in Illinois. So basically, Brandon Johnson has heard about the comments that Eric Adams has made, and some of you may have seen it, where he basically said that they are running and taking over the city. And I'm saying to myself, well, Eric Adams, you are the mayor of what would be deemed a sanctuary city, so you kind of have that situation going for you there, and your tone has definitely changed a lot or a bit from maybe this time a year ago when all of this started to take shape. So at least now you seem to see the light, but it's most likely too late. And y'all have seen the videos I have done and commentaries that I've given about how bad this is for us specifically as black people, but then what will spill over and be bad for American citizens across the board. But then you have Brandon Johnson, who seems like he's trying to be like Captain Save Every Damn Body and thinks that he's doing the right thing, and he's pushing back against Eric Adams. So I'm going to read this article that's coming from The Guardian, and I happened to just come across it when I was on my way to the gym. It's just random, like no one sent it to me or anything. I just kind of came across it. It says Chicago's mayor Brandon Johnson has attacked his New York counterpart Eric Adams for the latter's aggressive comments that the large number of migrants arriving from the US-Mexico border will quote-unquote destroy his city. Brandon Johnson, have you seen what's been going on in New York? Number one, I've done a video highlighting 3 crimes that should be seen as felonies in the state of New York that happened all within a month's time span. And Brandon Johnson, if you would pull your head out of your ass, you would see that the same stuff that's going on in New York is happening in the city that you are the mayor of. I have the biggest and strongest feeling that, like Eric Adams, Brandon Johnson too will be a one-term mayor. I don't think I don't think he's getting reelected. I think it's safe to say that that's two things. That's one thing that him and Eric Adams have in common, is that they are both going to be one-term mayors. I think that besides the fact that they're black men, they're definitely going to be one-term mayors, and the people up there are going to make sure of that. The two Democrats took sharply contrasting stances earlier this week on the handling of the humanitarian crisis aggravated since the far-right Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been unilaterally busing migrants to Democratic-led cities over the last year. Johnson's remarks came as it was also revealed that he plans to erect heated tents to sleep thousands of people over the harsh Midwest winter that are housed temporarily in Chicago's police stations while their asylum applications are processed. Like, look at where they're putting them. They're putting them in police stations. That just shows you right there, there's not enough room for them. It's too many. Like, they're getting thousands on top of thousands on top of thousands every week. I believe I read somewhere where it said that the city of New York gets about 10,000 migrants or south of the Borderians every month. That's a lot of people. No wonder they're sleeping in police stations. They don't have any place to put them. But like I said, they shot themselves in the foot. I'm not going to accept the notion that the city of Chicago is going to be destroyed. This is not a challenge that will overwhelm us, but he told, and by he, they're talking about Brandon Johnson, told the Chicago Sun-Times in an interview. Okay, if you say so. This is a person that's living in complete and utter denial. Johnson, elected mayor in April in something of a surprise win for progressive, pushed back on Thursday against Adams' remark that had sparked outrage from advocates the day before. The New York mayor won praise from the Republicans as he seemed to blame the Biden administration as much as Abbott and other Republican governors who have sent asylum seekers north, when he said, "Never in my life have I ever had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City, the city we knew we're about to lose." Of course, the Republicans was going to praise him for saying that because he pushed back against Biden. They don't like Biden. And you know, that's and him not pushing some of the blame onto Governor Wheels, aka Abbott, down there in Texas. I keep telling people, blame is to be placed at all sectors on both political spectrums, because Abbott and the snowflake, between those two, they could have easily said, no, we're not going to let them come over, keep them there, don't open the borders to let them in. But they're doing this as a spiteful thing, and it hurts everybody else in the process. I'm like, do you not realize this, if it continues to overrun the way that it is going to affect you too? It may not just be affecting you right now, not in the way that it is everybody else, but it's going to touch you. Don't think you can't be touched, like when it comes to this situation. And they're probably kicking their feet up, laughing at this right now, but at the expense of everybody else. It comes across as childish and very petty and ignorant, all at the same time, among some other words that I can't even really put into wording and context right now. But you pretty much get the gist. The people who are losing are the tax-paying citizens. They're literally letting squatters, illegal squatters, come over here and just be. Notice some of the crimes that they're doing. They're not even being charged and hit with felony charges. They're getting hit with misdemeanors. They're making it seem like what they're doing is the equivalent of stealing a candy bar out of a store. No, we're seeing and hearing stories about them attacking people. Some are about to commit deletion. Some actually do it, as y'all saw in one of the videos that I did about that one down in Texas who killed his neighbor's daughter and then tried to say two black men pushed him to do it. I mean, like, let's put it all together here. They are letting, again, a criminal element come over here. And I've also heard that there's been a rise in chickenpox. We haven't heard about chickenpox in years. I remember having that when I was a child, back in the early 90s. You don't even hear kids nowadays having that. But now that's coming back into the fold. And I'm like, where do you think that's coming from? And I'm putting on my tinfoil do-rag right quick. But have you noticed that now that they're saying that there's a rise in the woo-woo, a new strain of it, notice that's coming about right around the same time that the Salvador Bordarians are coming over this border in droves. I'm just saying. Allegedly, that could possibly be where it's coming from. And they don't vet them. They don't do anything. They just let them come right on in. And you got Brandon Johnson up here just saying that it's okay. Okay. That's because he hasn't been touched by it yet. But he will. But let me go ahead and get back into this. Adams added that 110,000 migrants had arrived in New York City since April 2022, creating a $12 billion budget deficit. Every service in the city is going to be impacted, he said. Johnson, however, talked in his interview about the tradition of welcoming immigrants, while also warning that leaving desperate people stranded without housing and work permits risked them to causing chaos and being drawn into crime. No, Johnson, many of them were like that before they got over here. And it's funny that he's talking about how people with no jobs and being left destitute will lead to a life of crime and chaos. That could be applied to actual American citizens that you're not doing anything for. If you want to know why crime is high in certain places, it's because they're not getting opportunities. But hey, let's welcome all these other people in illegally and just place them in areas, spike the crime up, because it's not like they're coming right on over and getting a job the day that they get here. Who knows how long they're going to be out there just doing whatever. And that means the crime's going to continue to go up. But when it comes to American citizens and their homelessness, you could care less. And then what do they get? Jail time, They actually get hit with felony charges, having to pay a whole bunch of court fees and fines. What happens to the ones that's coming over here illegally? A slap on the wrist. And they can't say we're exaggerating because we have pulled up the paperwork so many times because it's publicly documented. We are a city of big shoulders. We've been through difficult moments and challenges before, and we're going to get to the other side of this. I'm confident of that. I was elected to lead. This is not a challenge that will overwhelm us, Johnson said. He's speaking like he got big balls of steel, saying that this is not going to be something that's going to overwhelm them. I'm like, Brandon Johnson, have you looked outside into your city? Have you looked at some of these meetings that they've been having where black people, for the most part, have been going off on these panelists about what's going on? Of course he doesn't. He wasn't there. And shout out to Afro Elite because he talked about it on his channel. He did a whole live stream talking about it. Brandon Johnson wasn't there. Brandon Johnson was nowhere to be found. He sent his underlings in there because they know if he showed up, if he was there, it would have probably turned into a damn riot. So that's why I said Brandon Johnson and Eric Adams is going to be a one-term mayor. Like I said, I will give Eric Adams this. He's seeing the error of his ways now, but again, it's too late. At least he's admitting that it's wrong. Brandon Johnson is going with the flow. Keep in mind, Brandon Johnson just got into the mayorship back in April. He just got elected in April. He hasn't been in an entire year. He hasn't even been in 6 months. And already he is literally tiptoeing, actually not even tiptoeing, taking giant leaps and steps and bounds to destroy the city of Chicago. And the people I'm glad are up there are pushing back against him. That's why you cannot simply vote on somebody just, if I'm speaking to black people, you cannot just simply vote for somebody just because they are black. You cannot do that. You have to look at their policy. Usually they'll tell you what they're going to do before they get in. Sometimes they'll be slick with it and throw a little, little sidebar in there to kind of throw off the scent. But for the most part, they're going to tell you what they're going to do. This is why TD Hip Hop Media does as many videos he does going in on the Democratic Party and how a lot of black people do the whole vote blue no matter who thing. As much as some people don't like to hear it, is he lying? And it doesn't even just have to be a black person who's a Democrat. It could be a PC person who's a Democrat. Look who's the current commander in chief and his VP. Need I say more? The article goes on to read, it said he added to the Sun-Times, these families are coming to the city of Chicago. If we do not create an infrastructure where we're able to support and quite frankly contain these individuals who have experienced a great deal of harm, individuals who are desperate, if we do not provide support for these individuals and these families, that type of desperation will lead to chaos. It's already there. The chaos was there before they got here. I don't know how many times I got to say it. They came over here with chaos. It doesn't matter how much you do. That's just who they are. That's what they're going to do. It's no amount of support that you can do that's going to salvage that or is going to deteriorate that. And that's what Brandon Johnson doesn't seem to be getting through his thick beanbag skull. While Chicago has a history of welcoming migrants, tensions are high because of the stretch on resources. More than 13,500 migrants have arrived in Chicago since August 2022. About 6,000 are housed in 16 temporary city-run shelters across the city. Approximately 1,650 migrants are waiting to be moved to shelters while sleeping on the floors of police stations in the city's O'Hare Airport. So not only are they staying in the police stations, and mind you, it says stations as in more than one, but it says the O'Hare International Airport, which is one of the biggest airports in America, in Chicago. Like, it's gotten to that point. They are invading public government spaces. In case y'all did not know, airports are federal government property. That's where it's gotten to. They've literally turned an airport and police stations into goddamn shelters because they have no room. Brandon Johnson, is it not clicking for you yet? It's too many people. They don't have enough shelters to accommodate all of these people that are constantly hitting your city every week, every month. They said 13,500 since August of last year, a little over a year ago. And it's probably doubled that since then. As many migrants awaiting beds and shelters depend on local nonprofits for food, and on the ground, the situation is worrisome for people like Anna Guajardo, a community leader with United Workers Center, an immigrant rights organization. She and volunteers been taking warm meals to people sleeping on police station floors. If it wasn't for many of us who are paying out of our pocket most of the time, who are cooking these hot meals, who are collecting all of these donations, I don't know what would happen. We just need more support, she told The Guardian on Friday. And they're probably going to get it. As a matter of fact, I take that, I'm scratching that. They're not probably going to get it. They're going to get it. Guajardo said the police district where she volunteers was overcrowded. She was there recently and said there was no room for her to walk. The entire floor of the lobby was full. There was no room. Let Brandon Johnson tell it everything is fine. Meanwhile, Johnson is not giving details yet on where the city will place the winterized tents for migrants he is proposing, or when it will happen, except that plans will begin before winter's cold hits the city. And I don't know if y'all realize this or not, but they don't call Chicago the Windy City for nothing. The winters up there, from what I heard, are very, very Arctic climatic conditions, which means it is extremely, extremely frigid. This is beyond cold. This is extremely frigid in the city of Chicago during those winter months. I don't think that's an ideal situation, said Guajardo. Predicting that such tents will be crowded with people and adding that having them in close proximity is not healthy. She said that ultimately a long-term or permanent solution was needed, and she expressed frustration with the lack of clear plans from the city, state, and federal authorities, leaving elected officials pointing fingers at each other. Well, here's the thought: if they would have stayed south of the border, they wouldn't have to worry about those Arctic conditions, now would they? I'm just saying. On Adams' comments, she said she was appalled because most people arriving were eager to help themselves but don't yet have the chance. If they haven't done something by now, and some of them been here for a few months actually, then they ain't doing nothing. They're really freeloading. I'm just being honest. You should see some of the refugees here. Some want to cook, she said, recounting one who told her, look, I've been cleaning the bathroom, making sure it's neat so they don't close the door on us. And now what they're going to end up doing is they're going to take jobs from the people who have already been working in those positions, like people who may have been here for decades, like people who may have migrated over here legally, and now they're going to impose on their jobs. You know, the ones who you typically see doing room service at these hotels or cleaning these mansions and whatnot. We know what they typically look like. Most of them are migrants who most likely again are here legally, but now they're going to come invade and take their jobs. Watch, that's what's going to happen. A Chicago City Council member by the name of Michael Rodriguez admitted that he did not think Johnson's idea for winter-based camps was ideal, but he thought it was more dignified than sleeping in police stations and airports. The precinct in his district has 70 migrants, but they said they also only have 2 bathrooms. Now that's a horrible ratio. 70 migrants, but 2 bathrooms? And I'm not sure if, when they say 2 bathrooms, I'm not sure if they're saying 2 sets of bathrooms, like 2 men's and 2 women's, or 2 bathrooms total, 1 men and 1 women. That's crazy. Rodriguez added that Chicago was a welcoming city and Adams' remarks were low. I hope you, I was about to read into the ending of the article, but as y'all heard right there, and that was quite a bit of information, Brandon Johnson has lost his damn mind. Assuming he had a mind to lose in the first place, if he thinks that what's going on in Chicago won't happen, if he thinks what's going on in New York won't happen to him in Chicago, they're literally almost neck and neck. Chicago has a bit of a lead over them because, New York has a bit of a lead over him because New York is a very, very, very big city, as well as far as the city parts anyway, compared to Chicago. But still, that makes it even worse for Chicago being smaller in size compared to what Eric Adams is dealing with, because that means it can fill it faster. The fact that they are placing them in the airport and in police stations, that is very, very telling. And for Brandon Johnson to sit up there and pretend like nothing is wrong with that it makes him sound tone deaf. So yeah, I truly believe Brandon Johnson is going to be a one-term mayor, and I would bet the farm on it, assuming, if I had a farm. And I'm not a betting man, but I think it's safe to say after this first term as mayor, Brandon Johnson is out of there. And hopefully whoever they get in his place, the people properly vet them. That is why you have got to vet your politicians. In this case, he's a politrician, as I like to call it. And like I said, Eric Adams, he's no different. He did what he did. It's just that he now realizes it was wrong. But again, like I've said a couple of times throughout this video, it's too late. The damage is already done. How are you going to stop this? You can't. At this point, it's like a runaway train. It's going to take a miracle in order for all of this to cease, or at the very least slow down, because it's rapidly happening. And they better hurry up before they decide to want to start procreating, and then you really gonna have a huge issue on your hands, because now you got another I guess you could say another pipeline coming through. Because now, if they were to give birth here, like if they were to have kids on this soil, like born here, now you can't. If you wanted to deport anybody, like say you want to do a mass deportation, you couldn't deport their children because technically they're now American citizens. And you can't get the parents up out of there because who's going to raise the kids? So yeah, y'all got y'all got a lot to deal with. And again, for Brandon Johnson to sit up there and pretend like everything is okay, like, dude, do you realize your citizens, like your tax-paying citizens in the city that you're the mayor of, have a vast and righteous concern about what is going on? Like, we know that you're probably doing this for money and to line your pockets. I mean, we're not shocked by that. What politician wouldn't? But at the end of the day, the people who are losing out are the ones who, one, probably, helped to get you in, and you just completely turn around and give them your ass to kiss. That's why I said you got to vet your politicians. That's really all it boils down to. Black people, vet your politicians better, or whoever it is. You have to make sure that they are speaking to your needs and make sure your needs are met before you go and say, oh, okay, I'm going to vote for you, I'm going to put you in office, so on and so forth, and we go from there. This guy did not have black people's interests at heart. He did, however, make sure he had them mentally in order for them to go vote for him, because they didn't like, or they got tired of Lori Lightfoot. If anything, y'all got someone worse than her. Now, again, I don't know how Chicago politics are ran because I don't live in Chicago, but they're always put out there for public consumption. And what I hear is not good. And then I know people who live in Chicago, and I'll take their word for it, and it's not good. Granted, every state has something wrong with their politicians. That is a fact, because no politician is perfect. We know that for a fact. But as it pertains to this subject, Chicago, that not so secret invasion is going to hit them hard, and some aren't even going to realize it. If you let Brandon Johnson be your spokesperson and let him tell it, he would have everybody in the city of Chicago with blinders on and make it seem like this great not so secret invasion, as he would like to put it, or as I put it, is a wonderful utopia, when it's really not. It's about to be a nightmare. It's a nightmare now.